You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. It is Friday, and we're here every week with a special guest. And every week we have Dr. Julianne Malveaux. But this week, I asked Dr. Julianne because she do both segments. So tune in. Let's see what she has to talk about here on Think on These Things. She's going to give us something to think about. What's going on in politics? What's going on in economy? Because she has a PhD in economy. So she can always take us deep. So, Dr. Julianne, talk to us today. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, Lyndia. You know, we're just coming out of Easter, the week after Easter, and it's a great time for so many reasons. But it's also a little bit of a sad time. You know, I was raised Catholic, and my mother was a devout Catholic. I mean, when she was at her heyday, she'd go to Mass every day. I mean, we call it the go to Mass everyday Catholic. As she got older and, you know, a little bit more frail, and it got hard for her to walk up the hill, she'd still get up there 3 times a week. She'd figure out how to get a ride from somebody. And but she loved the Lord, and she loved her church, and she loved this Pope Francis. So when she turned 90, a friend of hers, Italian lady, actually got her a cross, about a 5-foot-tall cross, blessed by this Pope. And she donated it to the church. She kept it at the house for a couple of days. Then she donated it to the church. And so when we heard about Pope Francis dying on Monday, I thought of my mom immediately. This Pope was a special man. His doctor told him to rest for 2 months. He chose not to. Instead, he, on Easter Sunday, offered a blessing from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. Then he toured St. Peter's Square in his Pope-mobile. He spoke to people. He enjoyed people. He really was a man of the people. And so there's so many reasons that this Pope was special. He was the first Pope who was not European. They got him from South America. So his roots may have been Italian, but they got him from South America. He was a climate change advocate. I mean, he wrote an encyclical. That's a Pope letter. He wrote a letter about climate change, and he said that leaders had to pay attention to climate change, that it was a matter of justice. And he said we have to hear the cry of our earth and also the cry of the poor. So the poor were very central to him, very, very central. He rode the subway when he was in Argentina instead of a limo. And in Rome, in the Vatican City, he didn't stay in the papal palace. He stayed in a smaller apartment that was part of the papal compound. I mean, he just was a very, very humble man. He was the first pope to use the word gay. He insisted that homosexual brothers and sisters had a place in church and in heaven. Now, he didn't embrace gay marriage, but he certainly talked about the right. He said, who am I to judge? And that was a really important kind of point. He talked about economic justice, dealing with the gap between developed countries, us, and those countries still developing. He talked about how developed countries had to do more for developing countries. I could say so much more about him, but what I really, listen, we're losing we've lost a great man. I also call him the anti-Trump because anything that Trump stood for, I don't think it was personal, but he stood against. In other words, he wrote an encyclical about immigration. And he said that we had to make room for people, that you just couldn't get rid of people. He was pro-DEI. He appointed 163 cardinals since he became Pope in 2013, but most of them were not European. They came from places like South Sudan and Nigeria, Tanzania, Cote d'Ivoire. And these are the people who are going to pick the next Pope. So the cardinals, if you're a cardinal and you're under 80, you can vote for the next Pope. So this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. The last thing I would say about it, he said a lot about black people. He talked about discrimination and racism and said that they did not belong in our society. So even though black folks only 6% of us, I think, are Catholic. Even though we're a small number, we had a lot of influence with that Pope. And because he focused on justice, he focused on us. And so I think it's just important, this is not politics, but maybe it is. But I want to lead with that Pope because his funeral will be tomorrow, Saturday, and people will be coming from all over the world to pay their respects to him. And that's a great thing. Okay. I'm going to move on.
And then we'll go to our, I talked about one more, and then we'll go to our commercial break, and then we can get the rest of your stories.
All righty. So let's talk about Pete Hegseth. Speaking again. You send in trade secrets, world secrets, defense secrets on his Signal account. Send it to his wife, his ex-wife, his brother, some of his friends. It's like, do you learn, dude? Do you actually learn? Something is wrong with him. But, the president is standing by him. They've lied and said, oh, yeah, all these people were just loyal to him. The young lady who is the press secretary, they were plotting against him. Well, the people that were plotting against him are people he hired. So, tell me something. Just tell me something.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julianne. We're going to go to a commercial break now. We'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
All right. And we are back from our commercial break. We're going to continue to talk with Dr. Julianne Malveaux about politics and the economy. And I know Harvard got to be somewhere on this list because it is wonderful what they're doing.
Yes, it is. Well, let's pivot to the economy right quick. The International Monetary Fund has revised its projections of economic growth. They've taken it down to 2.8%. Before they were projecting growth of 3.7%. Now they're taking it down to 2.8. They say it's because of the is because of the tariffs, primarily because of the tariffs. And everyone is just stunned at the chaos that this man has created. Not only is world growth will be 2.8, growth in the U.S. they project will only be 1.8%. That's a very low number for economic growth. So other things that are happening, of course, gold prices are way up because people don't know whether to do stocks or bonds or what. They have no idea. So they're just saying, we'll do gold. That's stable. So our economy is tottering. It is really tottering, and it's a challenge. We also want to look at Elon Musk. Tesla stock is down by 71%.
Wow.
So he said he's going to step back from Washington and concentrate on his company. Well, he's created enough chaos that, it kind of really doesn't matter. But anyway, that's what we have there. We have the attack on the State Department. They said they'll be cutting staff by 15%. They're eliminating their focus on human rights and war crimes and democracy. They are covering for Putin, so they've dissolved a division of the State Department that deals with war crimes, and so Putin's war crimes against Ukraine will not be punished. On April 30th, next week, it will have been 100 days. Some people are saying 100 days of Trump. I'm saying 100 days of chaos. Every time you turn around, there's some chaos going on, and we know it. So let's just be clear about the chaos, and we know what it's been. There have been cuts, layoffs. They've been back and forth. No, we're doing it. No, we're not doing it. There has been the attack on trans people. Trans people represent 1% of the population, Lyndia. But this man, in his last executive order regarding truth and sanity in government, that's untruth and insanity, he said that the new Women's Museum, it'll be up in a few years, couple 3 years, they cannot mention men who play women's sports.
Wow.
It's a lot. So in these 100 days, here's what we've seen. Prices up, mortgage rates up, risk of recession up. All these things are up. And then he's issued more than 300 executive orders. Probably only 10 of them have to do with the economy. This is a man who said, I'm coming in to fix the economy, but he didn't. Now, we got to take a minute and talk about Harvard University because although I went to MIT, so there's a little rivalry there. But although and I have a thing about elite institutions, although I've attended them just because of the elitism. At the same time, Harvard has done a serious solid here. I mean, they have done a solid. What they have done is stood up to this president. Many have not. People are afraid. Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, talks about the people who are frightened. She said people are afraid. People won't step up because they're frightened. And so if they don't step up, what happens? This man gets to run around doing whatever he wants to do, and that's what he's been doing. There are no firewalls. There's nothing. We're looking for a few Republicans, just 5 or 6, to step up and say, But they are afraid that Elon Musk will primary them or something like that, so they're being quiet. So among the many things that have happened, so kudos to Harvard, who stands to lose at least $2.2 billion in research money. And people think, well, why does Harvard need $2.2 billion when they already have an endowment of $50 billion? Well, the answer is that they're doing critical research for the federal government, and we need to pay attention to that. They're not getting a profit. They're doing research for the federal government. Harvard, some of the elite universities have an amazing infrastructure. So they have the labs that are needed. They have everything you need to do the kind of research that we need done, especially right now. And so let's just salute Harvard and say thank you, Harvard, for that. Speaking of higher education, on Tuesday, the Department of Education announced they're going to go after people who have not paid their student loans. And the way they're going to go after them, they will garnish their paychecks or, Lyndia, their Social Security.
Wow.
Or their tax returns. And Linda, the woman who heads the Department of Education with the miseducation, they're gonna because they've been cut so badly. Who's gonna take care of this? The Treasury Department and the Small Business Administration are the two organizations in government that will be the ones that will be trying to collect on these student loans. Here's the problem: the economy is already having a hard time, and we have people who've lost their jobs. We have a freeze on collecting student loans from 2020 under the current president. President Biden extended it twice, and a lot of people are still hurting. So that's why President Biden extended it. This president says no more. We're going to collect the money. So if you have not paid your student loans, you better watch out. I said that they will be garnishing people's wages. They will be taking their tax returns if you're expecting a large tax return. Now, they're not going to start this until May 5th. And with their diminished staff, we're not sure when it's going to happen. So they may not get to you right away, but if you have this matter, they will get to you. And that's an issue.
Yes.
In addition, it raises questions for young people attempting to matriculate in terms of, will something happen to them? What if their parents have unpaid loans? Will they still be able to get loans themselves? There's just a series of issues. And this is the example of the bullying that we see from this administration. No conversation, no go to Congress, and they never go to Congress for anything. And so that becomes yet another issue. How do you not go to Congress? Because they don't have to. Literally, their attitude is they don't have to. Now, Jamal Bryant and his crew, and I just love the young man, doing great work. They started out with a Target fast. Beginning of Lent, they said, we're going to fast from Target. He and a group of negotiators went to talk to Target, and they came away with nothing. And so now he says, it's not a fast now, it's a full-on boycott. So I know a lot of people appreciate Target for their low prices, but folks, stand up for yourself. There are other places you could go to. There's, Walmart, there's other places. But he's asking that we continue to boycott Target. This has been a very effective boycott. Target's stock price is down by 30% in just the 2 months of the Lenten period. So if we keep it up, they'll go down even more, and that's exciting. The Anti-Defamation League says that anti-Semitism is at a record high. They reported 9,300 incidents of anti-Semitism, up 5% from 2023. They said in 10 years what they've seen is an 850% increase in anti-Semitic incidents. That may be true, but this administration is using anti-Semitism as a cudgel to basically fight the culture wars. So what we've seen with anti-Semitism, yes, we have anti-Semitism. Everybody knows we have it. We have racism too, but nobody gets that upset about that. But in any case, and I'm not trying to do whataboutism, I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
But in any case, what we know about this is that they use anti-Semitism to go to Harvard and talk about DEI, to talk about how you punish students, to talk about you can't wear a mask at a protest. So they're basically not doing a great job, and nobody supports anti-Semitism. However, criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. It's criticizing Israel. They're two different things. Do I have another minute, or where am I going?
You got a couple more minutes.
All right, so I want to get off the serious stuff for a minute and lift up Ryan Coogler, the brother who did the Black Panther, has a new film out called Sinners. I haven't seen it yet, but what I know about it, it made $46 million its first weekend. That it exceeded all expectations. But instead of the world celebrating him, the New York Times had a headline, well, success for one weekend, can they keep it up? Now, when a white filmmaker had the same investment, about $200 million, and he made $40 million, not 46. They celebrated him. They put him on the front page of the art section. Quentin Tarantino and his buddies, they said, "Oh yeah, they helped him." What about this brother? So I haven't seen the movie because I do not like horror movies, nor do I like vampires. But I'm going to go see it just to support this brother and encouraging others to do so. Everyone I've talked to says the movie is layered, lots to talk about. They also say see it on IMAX, not regular screen, because it's better on IMAX. I'll tell you later whether or not I fell out in the movie because I do not like vampires. But I want to give this young brother some props, and so that's what I was doing there. Okay, tell me where I am.
All right. Well, that's about enough for the day, Dr. Julianne. I appreciate you. You told us a lot. Told us a whole lot about politics. I'm telling you, that is so good. Thank you, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. We're going to go close now. We thank you for being our guest today to take care of both halves of our show. And we hope that you all had a good Easter and Resurrection Sunday. And we're going to go to our close now. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things. Good day.
Hello, my name is Lyndia Grant. Thank you all so much for coming out to the Les Brown Platinum Speaker Showcase at the Sheraton North in Beltsville, Maryland. Today, you'll get a chance to purchase my tape from my message, and the title of it is Follow the Yellow Brick Road and Believe in Yourself. I'd like to suggest that you play this tape whenever you feel yourself off course. Play it in your car, play it at home. Think about this message. Follow the yellow brick road and believe in yourself. I'm going to give you 3 points in this message. 3 A words: aim, attitude, and action. Now let me set the stage and give you some facts. When this movie was made, The Wizard of Oz was back during the Great Depression here in America in 1939, and it took place in Kansas, and it was made in black and white at the beginning of the movie. People were looking for a place to escape. They were looking for a better day. It was really bad during that time. They were suffering. Unemployment was up to 25%. President Herbert Hoover had done a poor job, and people blamed him for all of the bad things that were going on. And so President Roosevelt got elected, and he was the saving grace. And President Roosevelt was the first president to set up Social Security. The stock market crashed in 1929, and it took 32 years to get it back up again to its normal rate. 11,000 banks closed. Shanty towns crept up all across America as families lived in cars, and they had packing crates that they were sleeping in. And they called these little towns Hooverville. They named it Hooverville because they were blaming Herbert Hoover. So as they stood in lines for soup kitchens, today we see foreclosure signs, and we're going through similar situations. Now let me give you some facts about the movie. If you don't watch the movie with this information in mind, you'll miss the whole point of Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Yellow Brick Road is a metaphor for your dream and your goal and how you get on that road and you keep going. In the movie, Dorothy's house landed on the Wicked Witch of the West, and it landed in Munchkin land. Munchkins were dressed like little dolls, toy people. They celebrated. They were so delighted that Dorothy had gotten rid of their greatest fear, the Wicked Witch of the West. In their celebration, they yelled, they sang, they danced. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. They were excited. Dorothy only wanted to go home. She didn't care that she had killed the wicked witch. As a matter of fact, she wondered, did she do something wrong? Until Glinda the Good Witch came and said, you can go home by going to see the Wizard of Oz. Because that's all Dorothy seemed to talk about. And Dorothy said, well, how will I get home? She said, follow the yellow brick road. Munchkins sang and danced and showed Dorothy the way. As she skipped and hopped down the yellow brick road, they kept singing, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road.
And so finally, as Dorothy kept going on her journey, she said bye to the Munchkins. And along the way, she met 3 friends. Scarecrow, who needed a brain. Tin Man, who needed a heart. And the Cowardly Lion, who needed some courage. Now, as they skipped along, they would always get afraid because she didn't have 3 friends that were courageous. So they sang and skipped together, lions and tigers and bears. And they were afraid. So then they finally made it through the forest and they reached the Emerald City. And as they reached the Emerald City, you can hear a choir in the background singing, "You're out of the woods, you're out of the dark, you're out of the night. Step into the sun, step into the light." And they're excited because the castle is in front of them. They're almost there. Everybody's excited. If you're watching the movie, you feel so good because now they see the castle in the Emerald Isle. But suddenly something happens really bad. An evil spell comes down over them. The Wicked Witch is back again. But Glinda the Good Witch does her magic all over again, and they make it to the castle, only to find that the Wizard of Oz is just another man. They are all so sad, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. But Glinda tells all of them that you already had everything that you need inside of yourself. Dorothy, all you have to do is believe. Inside of you, all you have to do is click your heels together 3 times and you'll be home. Just believe. So they all had everything they needed. And you do too. The main point of this movie, we all have the ability to get what we want. And this power comes from within. Others may come alongside of us to offer some moral support, but ultimately, it's up to each of us. The yellow brick road, your dream or your goal, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, well, they're metaphors for our emotions. The Scarecrow needed a brain. Well, we need our mind to think. The Tin Man needed a heart. We have to have our heart so we can love others. And the Lion, the Cowardly Lion, didn't have any courage. If you decide you want to go forth with your dream, you have to be brave. And you too have to have courage. So it was as if these 3 emotions were running along with Dorothy. They were not really real. It was her mind, her heart, and her courage. She went by herself, but it was as if her 3 imaginary friends came to life to give her support. So the first thing you have to do is have a purpose. Dorothy's goal was to get back home to Kansas. She was determined to get to see the Wizard of Oz. What is your goal? Do you know where you're going and why you want to get this done? She wanted to go home to see Annie M. So take charge of your emotions. Feed your brain by studying and learning. You must have a kind heart. Napoleon Hill discovered this in his study. He said, remember this. Repeat it daily. He said, tell yourself, I will eliminate hatred.
Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.